Welcome to the Moving Forward podcast. I'm your host, Corey Cottrell, and we have my sidekick, the ultra sidekick, the most bad arsed sidekick that the universe has ever seen, Rio Verdenier.
Hey, guys.
There he is. And on today's show, we actually have Shane Thrapp, who is a social media volunteer working with the social media coordinator for Andrew Yang. He's got the best Andrew Yang shirt that I have ever seen and a beard that maybe if you're on our Patreon someday, you will see this beard. He is very clearly a wizard, and we're extremely impressed. But you can't see that, so I have to describe it in intense detail until the video comes out. So now that's where you're going to find out about that stuff. So we're going to have a wide range of conversation. Rio actually pulled the group and his conservative group for Andrew Yang and got a bunch of questions. So we'll probably throw off to that. But Shane, maybe to start things off, describe a little bit what you're doing with the social media stuff and tell us why Andrew Yang.
Oh, man. So Andrew Yang is why I'm doing the social media stuff. What got me into Andrew Yang is a couple of months ago, I was really just kind of like looking around, trying to figure out something to get passionate about, and a friend of mine who lives here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I live, sent me a video, and it was all she wrote from there. Everybody has a very similar story. Somebody shows them a video of Andrew Yang and people get hooked like that. And so I got into the group. I started kind of commenting here and there. I, just happened to accidentally messaged a social media coordinator one day and had no clue that's who she was. And just had a conversation with her, and she was like, "Dude, you're really passionate about this." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm like hardcore. I am a Yangster. Let's do this." And she was like, "You want to be an admin?" And I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, let's." Oh, can I curse?
Yes. I mean, Rio usually doesn't. He's very good about that. I'm fucking horrible.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but yeah, from that point on, it was just that's all she wrote. And why Andrew Yang? He says it the best. Like he sees what all the problems are. And he knows what got Donald Trump elected, and he's actually addressing those things, and he's coming from the direction that a lot of Democrats aren't going. And I kind of consider myself a centrist Democrat, to be completely truthful. I fall on a lot of the side things. The biggest thing is I just want to see some sort of balance in the government. You know what I mean? My biggest thing is I want to see people being brought back together. And seeing his message, humanity first, and not left, not right, but forward, those things really hooked me into it. And that's where we got today.
Man, yeah, I love that. That's great. Yeah, that's kind of like exactly what inspired Corey and I to do this podcast, because he's like this well-known progressive. He does this morning talk show thing that's pretty popular, and I'm this guy who is known for putting out this kind of like informal essay that was like the conservative case for Andrew Yang. And so he had me on his show, and we talked about it, and we're like, Jesus, man, we're agreeing like a lot. What's going on here? And we just realized that like Yang's ideas have this ability to bring people together and end this like hyper polarization, because it's really frustrating. I mean, if people actually genuinely disagree with one another, that's okay. That's what democracy's for, right? But there's like this team sport mentality where people are afraid to ever admit someone on the other side had a good idea. And so we're just trying to kind of break through the fog of war there. Right.
That was my biggest thing. And actually what really brought me into it was was some of the stuff that was happening with the alt-right things. And how, he wants to give voice to the people who are actually being hurt by America, but he doesn't want that support. And seeing him just like completely disavow all of that support, sometimes that gets thrown at him like, well, you're just a centrist, or you're a libertarian plant and things like that. But that's the thing. He's not. He's hardcore Democrat. He just has a lot of ideas that people forget are core democratic values.
Preach.
We've just moved too far to either side of the spectrums. And that's where he sits. He sits between that 80% of the people who in the middle that are completely wanting to get America back. There's a 10% on this side that's a completely bonkers. There's a 10% on this side that's completely bonkers. We want to get those 80% in the middle actually fitting into having their voice being heard, because all the loud voices are the bonkers ones on the ends.
dare we say the silent majority. But
Yeah.
no, seriously, yeah, no, I mean, as a just a normal old regular, what I used to think was just like a regular right winger, yeah, I disavow the alt-right all the time, and I sure as hell wish the Republican Party would.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
Okay, what is the now famous thing that you say about the alt-right? I'm not sure that we've actually talked about this on the podcast before, but I want everyone to know this. The second I saw you say this on Facebook, what is even happening?
The only thing alt about the alt-right is that they're left wing. I don't think that they're real right wingers. I totally I don't mean to say that as an insult necessarily. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that there are people who are left of me in the Democratic spectrum, but there's like this hostile takeover of the Republican Party by people. I mean, like, let's face it, Donald Trump's like he took his like foreign policy platform and his trade platform directly out of Bernie Sanders. Like, he's not he's not a real economic conservative, like, at all.
Oh no, not even a little bit.
No,
Like,
no.
My thing with and I've discovered this because, and this is something that y'all may actually get some flack for, but whenever I first started joining up, like I took on a lot of the memers and the trolls and the people who were putting out a lot of that alt-right stuff.
Good.
And I took them head on, and to the point that we were going through as an admin team, the entire team was going through, and we were finding those people who were causing the most dissent in our group and following the rules. We were going, okay, you're breaking the rules. This is what you're doing. Here's your warning, and then this is what you're doing. Stop doing this stuff. We've got to live by Andrew's core values. That's what this group is about. And those people kept pushing the envelope, and then we pushed back.
Yeah, and I think part of like what people, Shane, do you find this is tricky, is like getting people to understand there's a difference between asking people to be civil with one another and censoring opinions. Like, it's okay to have a civil disagreement with each other, but like, yeah, it's not productive when it's just name calling and that kind of nonsense, which of course does happen on both sides. Like,
right. No, and yeah, you're right. It comes from both sides as far as that's concerned. And that's like why we stick so hardcore to the rules that we've set on the page. Most of those rules were put in place by Andrew Yang and Andrew Frawley when they first created the base camp.
Mm-hmm.
All we've done is kind of refine them from here and there, but it's been at the campaign discretion. What we are trying to build is a community that is kind of a water cooler. You go there, you sit around, you have discussions. We're not a debate group. Sometimes things fall into that. People get really passionate about certain subjects and things like that, and it falls into that debate thing. The mod team tries to step in, and we want to pull it back to discussions. But for the most part, what we are really trying to build is a group that's for call to actions, for group recognition, for personal recognition. When you go out and you buy a shirt from the website, or when you have your swag on, or when you put your magnet on your car, or when you're doing, we want to celebrate that stuff. We want to celebrate youngsters, and we want to celebrate, one of the big things that we have going on right now is the Yang 2020 Tip Challenge. And that's where people are leaving notes to waiters and waitresses who are part of the industries that Andrew shows are going to be hit the hardest here in the near future with automation. Hey, are you interested in learning about how to get $1,000 a month? Go to yang2020.com, and then they leave a $20.20 tip. And they've been posting those receipts on the thing. That's for the people who can do that, you know? And we want to recognize those people, and that's what our group is for. We want to be a news hub for Andrew Yang's policies. We want to be a question place for people to come ask questions and clarification and things like that. We want to be able to direct people to like our Slack channel and our Discord channels, and where they can actually get work done and volunteer and things like that.
Yeah, and for the kinds of restaurants that would be hit hardest by automation, $20.20 is a pretty big tip, right? It's not going to be fine dining that gets the automated.
Right.
Like, I mean, unless it's like some weird hipster bar that has robot servers just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, like Denny's and places like that, they're definitely gonna. That's gonna hit those places pretty hard.
Yeah,
Man.
and we're seeing people who have like a $40 bill leaving a $20 tip.
That's awesome.
I did it on a $20 bill, and I left a $20 tip, and I was like, hey, look, you did a great job. Want to learn how you can get $1,000 a month? Go to this website. And I sat there and thought, I was like, oh man, it sounds like we're trying to do like a pyramid scheme here, but no, he's a president, so it's the ultimate pyramid scheme. You know, we're trying to get him elected to the highest point of the office. It's that's all we're working on here.
Nah, it would only be a pyramid scheme if he was somehow like collecting all those tips himself.
Right.
That's right.
So, but yeah, that's what the group is about. We're not here to bash other candidates. We're not here to bash Donald Trump. We're not here to bash the other parties. We're not here to take down anyone. We live by Andrew Yang's core values: humanity first, abundance. We want to promote people. We want people to look at the situation like Andrew looks at it, and that's what we try to foster as far as that's concerned.
That's great. So I guess, like, would you say like, if you had to do it in one sentence, what would you say, like, in terms of like the campaign's purpose for this like social media presence? What is their specific goal? Like, what are they trying to accomplish with their social media that impacts his ability to win in real life?
Bringing people together in a community that builds up people to do volunteer efforts, run for office themselves, and learn about all of the policies that Andrew Yang is putting forward.
Oh, good. Then you've got to get your mods to approve when we post about our show, because it's like all fucking about Andrew Yang's policies. See, there you go. I just cursed, Corey. I can do that too.
Actually, I approve most of the posts that
I've noticed that. We appreciate that.
Yeah, like I see y'all. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on that podcast. That's not why I do it. I've actually been listening to some of y'all's podcasts, and y'all have some really good things going forward. I really appreciate the work that y'all are doing. Now, that being said, though, that kind of segues into something. We don't promote all podcasts. We don't promote all vendors. We don't promote all things like that, sure. Because some people, it's only an episode that they do about Andrew Yang. And while we would like to promote them, it then turns into this cascading effect of everybody who has a podcast wants to do it. Everybody who has a Medium account wants to be noted and stuff like that. So we do have to be judicious and focus on the people who are being Yang-centric. There's another guy named David D. Call out to him. He's doing a Yang-centric podcast as well. Maybe even a good option for y'all. You can edit that out if you don't want me to mention that. But
no, we'd love to have him on. That sounds great.
100%. We want to promote everybody else who's doing this, because I mean, honestly, it's about making Andrew Yang president. And I mean, I think moving forward is going to be a thing. After this election, just because we've got 9 ideas to come after the policies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is our jam. And anybody who's doing this is a shout out right now. If you're doing a podcast or doing any kind of media around Andrew Yang, I'm inviting you on our podcast right now. We will blow your shiz up. Yeah,
there's another one, former Trump Yang Gang. They're big in the group.
They've been I'm totally kidding.
But they're blowing the comments up. They're producing a lot of pretty decent content. He just got started doing YouTube videos. So I just want to kind of give him and his wife a shout out. They're local North Carolinians.
Awesome.
It's just, and you mentioned it, Corey. The thing about this movement and an Andrew Yang's movement isn't getting Andrew Yang elected. That's the goal. That's what we want to do. But the overarching thing is 2024 and 2028 and 2032. We want to build a movement around humanity first.
Yeah, I've actually said, whichever party embraces Yang's platform as their official platform will be my party in the future. I'm homeless right now thanks to Trump.
Yeah, so we want to build. That's what our Yang Gangs are about. We're starting to roll out this methodology where we're starting to organize all of our Yang Gangs by region and having regional directors over them. And all of them are being directed to kind of start pushing for politicians. If you've got people who are interested in learning about being politicians in your area, or if there's local politicians who are running on similar concepts or policies as Andrew Yang, let's get those people involved and promoted. Let's get those people. It doesn't matter if they're Democratic or Republican or anything like that. Let's get them into office, because we need people with the same policies and concepts that see the value of Andrew Yang's message across the board. We need bipartisan support of all of Andrew Yang's policies so that we can get everything moving forward.
would you guys consider, or do you think the campaign would consider actively endorsing candidates? Because if so, I think I probably have 3 or 4 local candidates that are going for county commission.
I can't speak to that. That's actually something
Just
you
an
have
idea.
to send. Yeah.
I know Andrew Yang listens to our podcast, so like, hey, and
Yeah, right.
if you're listening, just throwing out, because I mean, it would increase visibility, right? Like we could basically, say somebody from North Carolina or here in Florida, we have somebody that we feel is exhibiting following those core ideas. And would be a candidate for an endorsement. I think it creates more buzz, it creates more noise, and I love what they're doing as far as creating that situation where it really is kind of a movement. Borrowing a little bit maybe from what Bernie and Our Revolution is doing. Like you basically get tagged as running as a candidate who's backing these things. You're going to get a certain amount of the population that is going to hear about that and connect with that idea right off the bat. I think it's smart. I like it.
Yeah. When people have the ideas like that, especially in the group, we try to get them into info at yang2020.com. We've got a whole coordinated group who is taking all of those ideas, categorizing them, and sending them to the relevant people. So that one of the problems that we ran into is we got so popular that the people in the campaign were just kind of like, holy crap, we need help. And so they got a bunch of volunteers together and they said, hey, here's the email. People are going to be sending it to y'all. Let's get some of this stuff moving through. Awesome. And so the campaign wants to have that communication from the ground up. And they want to start building that stuff up and getting people into real world efforts going forward.
I love that. I like the fact that he has like 10 times as many policies as anybody else, except, I mean, he might even have, he doesn't have 10 times as many as Warren yet. He's got over 5 times as many as her though.
Yeah.
But he's got all these policies, which really shows me that like he's running for the right reasons.
Right.
Character matters too. And he has that as well. And he demonstrates that whenever he says like, well, I just want my ideas to get put into effect. I don't really care, if I'm president or not. And I think that's,
is that right? Like
I believe it.
Right. Like it seems entirely genuine because, for probably most other politicians, I'd be like, I mean, that sounds nice. But, I 100% believe that he's telling the truth when he says that.
There's a really, and this was the nail in the coffin for my like complete devotion to Andrew Yang. He was in, and I can't find it anymore. I don't know where I saw which video it is because I've seen literally hundreds of hours of videos with Andrew Yang. It's a little creepy. Anyways, he's sitting there and he's like, what, somebody asked him like, what happens if you don't make it as a Democratic nominee? He said, then I'm going to throw every ounce of my support behind whoever is the Democratic nominee because there is no Republican nominees who are running against Trump that are having a chance. So Trump has to be defeated. It does not matter what happens, but the biggest thing is that he wants is his policies, his ideas to start making traction. He wants the freedom dividend to start making traction, and it already has. Marianne Williamson has now endorsed a UBI as a policy of hers, and so that cascading effect, he wants to start seeing that. He has 110 policies plus policies on his page because he wants to start pushing the Democratic Party to address the issues that got Donald Trump elected, because they stopped paying attention to that and they don't seem to understand it. And Chuck Todd on MSNBC recently really showed that because he didn't get it. And he missed the point when Andrew said it, and everybody in our group pointed it out.
All right, so should we start going through some of these questions for Shane?
Yeah, go for it, because I'll talk about anything all day long. I mean, it's
okay, well, yeah, I mean, we might as well say, like, it's totally okay to plead the fifth. Like, you can say, I'm not allowed to answer that question. That's okay.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speak for the campaign or anything like that, and most of my answers are going to say, well, Andrews has said this and this and this, because that's the kind of moderation that we try to do.
Yeah, well, and I they didn't all follow my instructions, but for the most part, I asked them to frame their questions in terms of, like, the actual social media stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Which hopefully you can address.
Yeah. Definitely.
So our buddy Kyle, who was actually on the other day, said, "Can you please ask about a pathway to being unbanned from the base camp?" I think he means.
So we haven't discussed this with the social media coordinator yet. But what I would say a valuable methodology for being unbanned would be to come to one of the admins or message if they know the admins. If they don't, they can message me, Shane Thrapp. Um, I look at my message requests on a regular basis. I'm pretty easy to find for the most part, unless I've banned you. If you want to get unbanned, the best way to do about it is to come on and have a conversation with one of the mods. And not all of us are going to be able to go back and see why you got banned, but if you got banned for a reason. And for the most part, it's because you violated the rules in a malicious way, or you continuously kept violating the rules in minor ways. If you did something stupid, like posted a Hitler meme, or you came out super anti-Semitic, or you came out super racist or something like that, or misogynist, or if you said something homophobic or or disparaging against transgender people or things like that, probably not, because unless you're learning your lesson and starting to learn that these things are core values of humanity first and what that means to Andrew Yang, it's not going to fly in the base camp. And we've tried to let some people.
But so if somebody feels like maybe a mistake was made, they could reach out to you or another admin and say like, "Hey, can we chat?"
Yeah, I'm open to it.
That's cool. Rad.
Now there are some people because, like I said, whenever I said that I took him on wholeheartedly, there's actually a petition against me in particular on change.org to get me taken off the group. And if you're in that change.org petition, I'm probably not going to let you in. Because the reason is because a lot of the people who got on that change.org petition have said some things in a lot of the meme groups disparaging towards my wife, or threatened to dox me, or
oh man, that's awful.
Because I'm polyamorous, they wanted to use polygamy against Andrew Yang. And so if you're going to use something against Andrew Yang about one of his moderators or something like that, then you aren't an Andrew Yang supporter.
Especially going into like their personal life and stuff. That's just nasty. Ugh.
Yeah, we're here to do a job, and we have rules that we try to live by.
So actually, a quick follow-up question. What is the philosophy behind your rules and your method for enforcing them for the group?
Humanity first. Honestly, most of the rules are based on core values. We have to get a little bit strict with memes and things like that because, and here's the thing about the memes, I actually like a lot of memes, but the larger percentage of the population doesn't understand memes. They don't understand how they work. They don't understand how to look past some of the images that people use and actually try to see the message. They just see the outrageous imagery that some people use.
Yeah, especially if it's like ironic or self-referential
right.
or something. Yeah. That's reasonable. I get that.
Right. So we have to be we have to be fairly strict on what those are. We're not anti-meme. You're fine to post those in comments and stuff like that.
No, in fact, actually, some of those memes are probably in less formal, less official circumstances online are probably actually helping Yang a lot.
Oh yeah, and we have a whole folder in our social media folder that I have that I'm curating with a couple of others that has a whole list of all the memes that we've collected over the course of the past few months. We're not anti-meme.
That's like the gold standard. That's like every memster's dream is like, I want to be on Shane's list.
Well, I mean, no.
All right. So Austin Zelli, this a fellow, I think he's a member of the Moving Forward group, but he's also in the conservative group. That's where he asked this one. These are all conservatives from now on. So this is going to be fun for you, Shane. How can the community best build support and back Andrew Yang into the media? So he's asking like, what can we do to help get him better media coverage?
Don't be fucking dicks. Okay, and I say that flippantly, and I don't mean it flippantly.
No, that's 100% accurate. Period.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and Andrew actually said it in a tweet recently. Don't be so aggressive or rude and things like that. When in our Twitter group, we have a pretty hardcore set of Twitter users who are Yang Gang, and they've gotten together and they actually stress it like, hey, look, here's a post by this reporter. Let's get in there and explain to them the math, the facts, and the figures, and then they get in there and they do it. Now, there's a whole other set of Twitter people who are just like complete, like, you're a horrible person, you should die. Look, that's not.
You get more. What's that saying? Attract more fleas with honey, something like that.
Well, I think it's bees, not fleas, but I mean,
yeah, you don't want to attract fleas. That's bad.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nobody wants fleas. I grew up to that crap.
I'm gonna give $1 million shipple to the first person who makes that the ringtone on their phone. What he just said about fleas.
You attract more fleas with honey.
Yep. Because
all right. Okay. We're not going to get through this list though if we screw around too much. Okay. So Matt Pearson has 4 questions for you, Shane.
Go for it.
All right. So we'll take them one at a time. Number 1, does he think libertarian/conservative support, meaning ongoing compromise, is crucial to the campaign?
Absolutely. And so does Andrew Yang. He says it all the time. Chuck Todd interview, he just said, I'm peeling off Trump supporters, libertarians, Green Party. I'm pulling everybody across over into the Democratic thing. He has literally single-handedly done more work to get conservatives and other party members signed in the closed primaries as Democrats because nobody else is doing it. And that's what's going to wind up winning him.
It's so frustrating too. It's like people don't understand how you somebody please explain democracy to the Democratic Party. You've got to get people to vote for you to win. That's how it works. Okay, well, I love it, Shane. Thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, number 2. How difficult is it to moderate the group with such a diverse array of characters? Ooh, that's a good one.
We've got a really good team of moderators. Not all of them are as vocal as I am. A few of them, you'll see them throughout the comment threads and things like that. But we've got a really good team, and we all take breaks. And we're all like, hey, I need to take a break. The difficulty comes in just making sure people understand that this is a discussion group and not a debate group, and walking that fine line. Like the minute you start throwing emotions into it, is the next step is going to be names. The next step is going to be ad hominem attacks, and we're trying to get away from debates. This is a discussion. We want to foster a community of people who are starting to build back together, not fight with each other. The fighting with each other is what destroys other groups, and it's why our Facebook group has one of the best reputations out there.
Yeah, I have to say I like it because if you go to any of the other, Corey said this, he I think Corey probably spends more time in other kind of left-wingy groups than I do, but he was saying Yang's is just it's just the people just behave better, the conversations are better than some of the other groups, and I can testify that's also true when you compare it to right-wing groups. I mean, the level of infighting that's going on right now between the alt-right and the right, and I imagine it's also happening between kind of the Bernie Sanders side of the Democratic Party and more of the centrist Democrats. So that kind of infighting is very toxic, and it's definitely not going to help either side win.
Right, and that's one of the reasons we don't allow candidate bashing, no matter who it is. You can talk about the policies that are ill fitted. You can talk about the border crisis and how Trump is exacerbating it. But you can also look at some of the policies that the Democrats have put forward that are too extreme. And so you can talk about those policies and discuss those things, but it's not a matter of attacking people. It's not a matter of attacking the groups. We don't allow bad boomer talking. We don't allow bad millennial talking.
Thank you.
We don't.
Yeah. So
Yang would be our first Gen X president, though. That's pretty
awesome.
rad.
Yeah, I got to jump in here because I am I'm in all sorts of for my progressive politics show. I sort of joined all of the groups. So I'm in all the candidate groups, and there's one Democrats are stronger united. It was for a while completely and totally Biden, and it was only Biden. Otherwise, they weren't going to vote. I'm like, you people are drunk. What is wrong with you? It's crazy. But every single, even Beto, all of them have completely failed at managing their groups in such a way that there's any kind of unity at all. So far, this is and I've seen this at Basecamp, and I know you guys are doing it. I know I'm sure that others are going to pick up on that, and I could be wrong. Maybe they started doing it, but it's so vital because it's vile when it's really, really nasty in those other groups, and just it's dumb. It's what are we doing here? We're supposed to be the Big Ten party, and you guys are acting like a bunch of clowns. So Yang 2020. Yeah,
I want to go and interject something real quick in this, and I know we've got a lot of questions, Rio. I apologize.
No worries.
This kind of leads into. The moderators do such a good job is because we're very judicious on what posts we put through. We get 400 to 500 post requests a day. And we all go through them, and we're like, okay, hey, all right, we've got like 34 repeats. All right, we need to do a moderator-led post on this subject. And you may have seen that recently. Quintus Jed posted a couple of different subjects like fundraising and different ways and the values and things like that. That's because we get a lot of questions about those. And so instead of posting one of them from those people, we kind of pull them all together, and then we kind of try to give credit within a mod-led post. But that's because we want to make sure that we're producing content that's Andrew Yang centric, and sometimes people's questions aren't quite in that vein. We do have in our About Us policy guidelines on what to submit, and we follow that pretty stringently. We don't do long essay style posts. We don't do videos without some kind of explanation of what the video is about, or some sort of words or something like that. We want to have some idea of like a meaningful conversation that you're trying to have from this video. We don't allow just memes by themselves. We just, there has to be some sort of commentary, or put in a comments section, guys, if it's relevant. And everything has to be Yang-centric and relevant. We get a lot of shower thoughts. Like, I was in the shower and I thought about aliens today, and what's Andrew Yang's policy on aliens? Legit post, not calling them out, just saying that's a thing that happened. And so we do have to be fairly strict in what we allow through. And so if somebody's post doesn't get through, it's because we legitimately have 500-600 posts sometimes.
Wow.
So it's just a lot. And there's only 8 of us. I think there's 8 of us.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
of the admins or like mods altogether?
Of the admins for Facebook.
So there are 8 admins, and then do you have like a bunch of mods underneath you guys, or is it just that?
It's just us. Hold on.
Oh man, that's you guys. That's like a full-time job.
You
are
superheroes. 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there's 8 of us, and then we have a social media coordinator, and then of course Andrew Frawley is the social media director. And then we have the Reddit mods, and then we have the Discord mods and the Slack mods, and we have all of those different groups. And then we meet with them weekly, and we try to cross-coordinate things. You'll see things from a guy named Lancelot. He posts a lot of stuff, and that's stuff from Reddit. And we're trying to pull a little bit more people who are interested in Reddit from Facebook into there, and people who are interested in Facebook or Reddit from Reddit over into Facebook. And we're trying to actually start working with the Twitter group, and we're trying to start making sure that the people who want to do work go into Slack channel, and people who want to do a lot of the discussions and debates and all that stuff go into Discord channels.
That's cool. Yeah, so that's fair. Like, it's like this particular group isn't for everything.
Right.
Here are some other places you can go to do what you want to do.
And y'all will see a lot more of that here in the near future, where we're starting to promote those and push that stuff out.
So this is number 3 of 4 from Matt Pearson. He's prolific. Does he have any recommendations for conservative Yang Gang members, and what are they? That's a little open-ended.
Be patient. Just like they have conservative members have ideas that Trump has done well on, and I will give Trump some credit. He has done good in some things. There is a lot of stuff that Trump has done that, because of their sources of news, they may not know as much about. And the same thing goes for a lot of the liberal people. So this is kind of both sides need to learn about this, and we see this in the social media. Be patient, and open-minded, because don't automatically discount everything a liberal person is saying just because you haven't heard about it from your news sources, especially in our group.
Those news bubbles are a real thing. I mean,
right.
That's actually another reason that Corey and I wanted to do this show, because like, it's there aren't enough places where you can go, whether you're on the left or the right, and actually feel like you can trust the source. I mean, even though we're basically a politics show, obviously we talk about stuff that's in the news, and I definitely have like some of the conservative youngsters are like, well, the only reason I feel comfortable listening to that show at all is because you're on every show. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, that's great. I'm sure that there are a lot of people on the left who feel the same way. They're like, damn, I don't want to listen to some capitalist evil like monopoly guy talk all day long. I'm glad Corey's on there to shut him up.
Yeah. One of the big things that we see, one of the big things that I use is like Reuters and AP News. They're both considered fact-based news organizations with very little spin. if any. Their op-eds obviously will have some of that, but the news source itself has very little spin. But in our group, there are a large number of liberals and a large number of conservatives who have math and figures and facts and science behind what they're saying. And what they need to figure out is where those things intersect with each other and not where they're so opposing. Because there's a lot of stuff that the Cato Institute has put out that's the Koch-funded think tank. And then there's a lot of stuff that like Huffington Post puts out that's very liberal and that they promote that actually has a lot of math and science and social sciences behind it. And I'll throw this one out as an example. Transgender identity. There's 1,000 articles in science that promote the idea that understands that transgender is a true thing that people understand about themselves, and that's who they are. There's studies that show that children's brains who have that are starting to like go into the puberty stages, their minds, their brains, their pattern matches a lot of their the cues that are relevant to the gender that they identify as, not as the gender that they were born. And so that stuff is valid. And a lot of people discount that from the conservative side. But at the same time, a lot of people on the liberal side discount the capitalistic ideas from the conservatives, even though there is a lot of very sound science behind it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where you have to find those balancing in those points. Be open-minded and read and learn what the other side is trying to say, not just what you've heard in your news sources.
So number 4 from Matt Pearson is
before we move on. Sorry, Rio.
Yeah, it's cool.
Something you said, is a core value of this show, and I think that Yang proves that constantly. One of the things that Rio and I love to do is to actually search for and find consensus. Right when we disagree. Right, like because you can debate all along. Like all of Facebook, all of the internet is a giant, pit of debating, and no one's listening to each other. Finding consensus,
not the base camp.
Right, exactly. That's good. But yeah, like the activity of finding out. Okay, well, we disagree on this. What would work? What could we do? How do we find or invent consensus around this topic? And I'm so happy to hear that you guys are promoting that same idea because it's a beautiful thing. That's it.
So this one from Matt is nice and specific. What kind of microbrew does he drink?
There's an amazing blonde ale that's made by Foothills Brewery here in Winston-Salem. Shout out to Foothills Brewery. It is amazing. It's got this. It's got just a hint of hoppiness, which I appreciate, but there's almost no bitterness to it. It's very smooth. It's very creamy. It's a great ale.
Oh, that sounds good. I want one now. All right. Although it's only 10 a.m. here, so I might have to wait a little bit. I
mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, guys.
That's true. And it is Saturday,
right?
All right. So Travis, this is from Travis Harger. Ask him about, this is a great idea. Bootstraps for everyone t-shirts. I love that. Bootstraps for everyone.
I need to, okay. That's one of those conservative statements that drive liberal people insane.
But it is. But it's giving them bootstraps. That's great, isn't it?
Freedom dividend is literally because one of the things we've talked about, it keeps coming back up. It's this conservative idea that if you don't like the state you're in, you could just vote with your feet. And I'm like, tell that to a homeless person. Right?
Right.
So the freedom dividend literally takes a lot of ideas that conservatives have and make them not dumb. It literally makes them valid. So that bootstraps for everyone t-shirt, like I want to buy that right now.
I would definitely wear that.
I mean, that is definitely something that needs to be promoted with info@yang2020.com. I mean, Go ahead and send that email to them and the merch team will get it and we'll see what happens. That's the other thing about the freedom dividend. Like you said, we were talking about, it gives people the opportunity to start making their own businesses. It gives people the opportunity to be stay-at-home moms and dads. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've got twins that are sitting in the hospital, and I'm going to go see them after this. They were born at 27 weeks. And with twins, it's almost impossible in the first 2 years to be working. I'm lucky enough to have a position where I can do that, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure. And so I'm trying to get Andrew Yang elected so that I don't have to worry about it, and I can stay at home and be with my babies. So, it's a valid point for people to use freedom dividend to get to where they're going and live a life of abundance.
This is an interesting. Oh yeah, yes. So, yeah. So this is a lady this time, Donna Marie Black. She says, my only form of active social media is Facebook, so I see a gentle side of the Yang Gang. What are some of the reasons that the vibe on Instagram and Twitter are different? That's interesting.
Twitter and Instagram don't quite give you the same tools to be able to control the direction of the conversations. And there's bad actors out there who go in and intentionally to muddy the waters and stuff like that. And they try to in Facebook as well, but we have rules and we have policies that we follow and we have guidelines that we go by. And if you break them, you're out and you're not able to get back in. The Instagram and Twitter, we don't have the same control. And if we did, we would, and people would yell at us for violating their freedom of speech. But you can't violate somebody's freedom of speech because we're not the government, and your freedom of speech isn't going to get you protected from consequences of what you say. Social consequences are a thing. So that may get a lot of conservatives real mad at me, by the way. May get a little bit of hate mail for that, guys. Sorry.
No, hey, we welcome the hate.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, the folks in the Conservatives for Yang group are actually really appreciative for the most part. I mean, there are definitely some people who feel like they got a bad shake and got banned for the wrong reasons and stuff, but now they have a way to talk to you about that. But for the most part, they seem to appreciate the fact that, given the fact that Yang is running as a Democrat, especially in a primary where winning the base is so important, they appreciate that you guys do make an effort to be inclusive of conservatives. And it's. I
will say this:
we do notice.
Yeah, we've banned just as many liberals as we have conservatives.
Good note.
I fully believe that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because when you start yelling about Trump-tards this and Trump-tards that, you're violating the rules.
Yeah. What do you think, Shane, too? I mean, I guess this falls under productive disagreement and discussion, possibly. So I'm sure on some level, I guess you allow it. But what do you think about, I've noticed that in terms of trying to persuade people on the left, one of the biggest hurdles is the fact that Yang explicitly identifies as a capitalist, and there's this idea that he's just sort of, there's this perception on the left that he's just a sort of libertarian tech bro who wants to give tax relief to the middle class, and he doesn't allow it to stack on welfare, so he's just trying to sneak through welfare reform through the back door. What's a way that you've noticed, in your observations of the group and the way people are talking to each other, what's a way that you've noticed that's actually a way to get through to those folks?
You have to make sure that you're getting to the meat of the discussion with them and try to figure out where they're coming down on it at, and make sure that there's no misconceptions. Because just as news agencies on the right sometimes distort or spin a conversation or a hit piece on something like that, people on the left have done the same things. And this happens a lot on Twitter, and which I'm a part of as well. And what we have started doing is we go into those groups and we start laying down the actual policies, what they mean, what Andrew has actually said about them, what the math says, what the circumstances could be, and where he lies on those. Make sure you're actually talking about the same thing. And then once you get everybody on the same page and in your discussing those things, you start pointing out all the benefits that, and I'll use freedom dividend as an easy out. All right, you start listing all the different ways that freedom dividend could benefit a higher minimum wage in the future. If companies are starting to automate and stuff like that, and then they start specializing the positions that they're going to need, those positions are then going to be worth more money and they're going to be more valuable. So there is an idea for a higher minimum wage at that time. The point of the freedom dividend is to get everybody off the ground and on a level playing field. That's how we're going to get Medicare for all and everything like that. Just like his plan is to have a private option, an option that's private. Medicare for all is going to be a thing. That's everybody is going to get it. There will also be a private option for people who want to use it.
Yeah,
And
that would be
eventually,
me.
yeah, and
I
then
don't want to go on welfare.
right, and then eventually people,
Medicare. Sorry, I misspoke there. I don't want to
yeah,
go on Medicare. But I also believe it should be. I think that you should have a subsidized option for low income people who want to go on the public option. I think that's
right,
great.
and that's what he plans on doing. And as the Medicare for all starts proving itself, the private option will start getting phased out. And he said that on the Pac-Man show. He said that in a couple of other different interviews. The private option is going to be there at first because we have to give the insurance companies an ability to start shifting their workload over to focus in that kind of direction. Because
no, I agree. I think that the future of private insurance it'll be increasingly like a platinum service for people who essentially want to pay
Cadillac
extra.
services.
Yeah,
Yep,
which is great.
definitely.
I think that's wonderful.
Right.
All right, so we've just got a few more left here, and then we're just going to open the conversation up for general talking. But all right, so we've got Grant Diamond has a couple of questions. Have you seen any suspected meddling within the social media group surrounding Yang? Do you have any? Yeah, I know, me too. Do you have any way of identifying it, and have you ever considered this before? Oh, well, you definitely have.
Yeah. We a lot of the moderators have actually been trained in anti-troll. That's a legitimate thing. We've been trained in what to look for, what kind of profiles to see, what kind of behaviors to look out for. And now all of us have a little bit more a little bit more experience in the process, and we can recognize the people who are coming in as bad actors by not just their profiles and stuff like that, but by what and how they say certain things. And we kind of put those people in a hey, we know this person, we need to monitor them, and we kind of watch and see what they do and say and things like that. Facebook gives us the ability to do that. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Twitter and Instagram. We don't have that ability there, but with Facebook, we're able to sit here and look at the history of how you've commented. Once you've made yourself known to us, we can look at your history and say, okay, well, you've done it a lot of times where you've said some kind of anti-Semitic stuff, and we're watching you escalate that anti-Semitism further into the conversations. And then we just, again, follow the policies and procedures. We mute as necessary. If you get 3 mutes, you get banned.
Yeah, I don't think he means like just plain trolling, but like full on meddling, like, I don't know, like psyops.
No, seriously. And it's the same thing. If we see somebody who comes in and we have Bernie bros who try to do it, we have Beto supporters, we have Trump supporters and things like that, and they come in and they intentionally try to muddy the waters, and they play oppose law. They play the most extreme version of what they think is horrible. So a person who is a Trump supporter may come in and act like the most extreme version of a liberal that they think of. And the vice versa is the same thing. You have a liberal,
so cynical. Ugh.
But that's what happens, and we have to recognize that kind of mentality and that kind of thing. And then we watch for it, and then when they step over the lines, we step in and we start working that person out.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, you said you've been targeted. So like, I mean, like I'm guessing that you probably get like behind the scenes people targeting the admins, like, I don't know, like photoshopping you guys doing sneaky stuff. Like, give us some anecdotes about some amusing meddling.
One of the anecdotes that I have is my personal one. They got onto my personal page and they said, we're going to meme you, and we're going to meme you the worst way we possibly can. You can't come after memers like this. You can't come after our groups like this and stuff like that, because I put myself out there as a public kind of a public figure, because I don't have anything to hide. If it's on the internet and it's about Shane Thrapp, it's there because I care, because I don't give a fuck that it's out there. Like, cool. Hey, make a meme out of me, make me famous. That's how I look at it. I don't care what it looks like. You're not gonna hurt my feelings, because I already overshare everything about myself. So
you're like just retweeting the mean memes. That would be a great way to handle it. You're like, dude, look, they're making me famous. Look,
I almost signed the petition against me. I almost signed it and wanted to comment like, "Hey guys, thank y'all." But I decided that may push people a little bit too wrong, so I decided not to.
Okay. All right. I think this is our last one. This is also from Grant. In the 2016 election, the Russian presence was very believable and concentrated on just a few social media accounts that posted very frequently. I think they mean believable in the sense that people believe they were Americans. Mm-hmm. Going forward, the more popular Yang gets, the more vigilant we have to be become, so I guess that's not really a question. He just like, what are you going to do when the Russian propagandists come for Yang?
Oh, they already have.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
because I mean, I guess that like directly relates to what you're doing in social media. I mean, that's where it happens.
Yeah, we get a lot of we've learned to discover a lot of bots and things like that, and how to counter against them. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about how we do that.
Sure.
But we are able to recognize bots when they try to come through, and they are very 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 sneaky.
Wow.
But it's a matter of just vigilance and paying attention and reading histories and checking out profiles and checking out like like how to identify the different people. And this goes also back to bad actors. Part of the bad actors are foreign agents who are trying to come in and actually actively participate, whether or not they're organized by some group like the Russian company that does that, or if they're just personal trolls that just are trying to cause dissent and issues with America because they don't like us. It doesn't matter. They're all the same essentially in our book.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that, like, I mean, conservative circles, sometimes people be like, well, we believe in like free speech and we believe that like competition of the best ideas. So what's wrong? What's so bad about like Russians getting involved? Is kind of the excuse that I've heard some people, probably more on the alt-right, make. And what I usually say to that is, it's like, well, there's a difference between somebody coming and honestly saying like, I'm a Russian, and I have an opinion about American politics. That's fine. I mean, I have opinions about Russian politics. Like, Putin needs to go. But like what's insidious and in some cases illegal is when they pretend to be an American and they're putting out like propaganda pretending to be the opinion of an American. I mean, they organized like whole rallies in the United States and there wasn't a single Russian person who attended it. They just got it done on social media. That kind of stuff that's impressive, if nothing else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Corey, we're done with all done with the questions. So why don't you like ask Shane if you know?
Go for
it. I mean, he answered the beer question. My job here is that's all I needed to know. Just kidding. Honestly, less a question, Shane, and more giant, unbelievable thank you. Watching what you guys are doing at Basecamp and the way that you're doing it, and it being, having the values that Andrew Yang put forward that honestly put us all in this room, right? Like that's why we're here. The fact that that's percolating into the rules for the conversation and the way that's taking place. I do believe this. And Rhea and I talk about this sometimes. Like this, we're just trying to be a small example of what we want to see happen in America. Right. And I think that what you guys are doing at Basecamp is a really, really awesome example of what is possible. It's a new kind of way of organizing discussion around really, really amazing ideas that I think, it will become an example because Andrew Yang's going to win. And then they're going to be like, what the crap just happened? Oh, like, well, we just weren't dicks.
Yeah. It's like revolutionary in the world of politics.
Right.
We're just nice.
Yeah. That's,
that kind of goes, again, it goes all the way back to Andrew Yang. His promotion of the Humanity First Days that were created by Esther Baldwin, who's an admin, pushing those volunteer days down to the Yang gangs and saying, hey, let's get these actually organized where y'all go do something good in your community. That's what the Basecamp is about, is promoting those good things that you do. And so once a month, we ask the Yang gangs to go out and do something. Don't just get around and sit here and argue back and forth over coffee or a beer or steak or something like that. Get out and actually do something. Start living humanity
I love
first.
the visual of people arguing over a steak. It makes me think of like two dogs like going at a steak in the alleyway or something.
Well, I'm not looking at that now. Sometimes that's what debates look like.
Totally, yeah.
So
Shane, do you have any like final comments or questions or whatever?
Yeah, come to Basecamp and hang out and be a part of the conversation. Ask your questions. Sometimes your posts aren't going to be seen, and we're really sorry about that. But we're trying our best to make sure everybody gets heard. And so check your message requests, because a lot of the admins are actually messaging you to actually answer your questions personally. We've got a lot of admins who are really passionate about it. Some of us are spending 16 hours a day on social media.
Wow.
Just promoting Andrew Yang. and we're here, and we want to see everybody come to understand Andrew Yang the way we do. And so, just have an open mind, come with love in your heart, and live humanity first.
And all people putting in all those volunteer hours, the ROI will be your freedom dividend.
Yeah. I'd prefer a job, but I'll take the freedom dividend.
Oh, I want both.
Right. I'd like to have both, but
Right.
I'm going to have twins here in the near that are going to be at home in the near future, and I won't be able to commit as much of my time then.
By the way, Shane, Corey and I before we went on the air, you had stepped up and walked away from your desk there in North Carolina. Is that where you said you were?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw behind you this like pile of like papers and boxes and electronics, and we were just like, dang, I was just like reflecting on it. I'm like, every time I've seen anybody who does anything in politics, that's always what their desk looks like, unless it's the politician, and then it looks like prim and perfect. But like all of the people who work for the politician or volunteer for the politician have stacks and stacks of stuff all the time. It's
not only impressive. Is all this like office stuff that I'm working on and things like that I like have to take off my desk and put on the table behind me. We just moved and bought our own house. We just bought a new van, and we just had twins. So I'm doing all of the adult things this like in the last 3 months.
Wow. Okay.
So, but yeah, and so life is really getting good, and I'm starting to learn how to live in abundance and not scarcity. Another Andrew Yang thing I have to think about.
Amen, brother. Yeah. No, I mean, exactly. When people are in a mindset of scarcity, they start fighting over the steaks. When they're in a mindset of abundance, they say, you know what, you can have that steak. Like, I'll have the next steak. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, the world isn't going to end over this.
Oh, I'm going to go catch my fish. You're good. You have that steak.
Yeah.
So.
Totally. All right. Well, Corey, any final statements or questions, or how are we doing here?
Just one request. Everybody who listens to this show, I want you to find Shane Thrapp on Facebook and give him a Facebook hug.
Yeah.
Because the work that they're doing is fantastic. We really, really appreciate you coming on today, Shane. And please extend our thanks to all the admins, all the 8 admins at Basecamp. That is mental. Also, if you're listening to this podcast, talk to Shane about volunteering to train to become an admin or a moderator, because that Basecamp group is going to get blown up over the.
Yeah, you guys are gonna need it.
I just thought about that. I want to give a real quick shout out. Colbert Show is June 24th, and we are going to be on The View July 7th.
All right.
We just found out about that a couple days ago.
Nice.
So,
all right. Some huge national level exposure for sure. That's awesome, man. Yeah, thank you guys very much. Just in closing, we're going to be releasing our Patreon pretty soon. You're going to want to be part of the Moving Forward podcast group on Facebook to get updates on that. And we actually do Q&A sessions, Rio and I, in that group that will not be released anywhere else. So you can come in and be part of our water cooler. And again, you guys, send Shane Thrapp some love, their whole team, because they're freaking fantastic, and what they're doing is really, really important, and it's being done really, really well. So that's it. Until next time, this is the Moving Forward podcast.